Greetings world and other anonymous users. I have found that there is a common problem amongst a degree course that I think doesn't help people. Because I have a growing concern that gender studies courses are about separation more than unity. I think that it is better to be called something like psychology or gender psychology. Because these people are looking for a legal system with the governments to force this on other people who just see people as normal human beings. There are only two genders in humanity, but I am not saying you have to identify as either. But it will not change the reality. You can only ever transition to male or female, one or the other. You are still a human being as well, but you don't need a government to create a 64-gender or multi-gender system. I see possibilities, but I don't see these possibilities as a realistic alternative. This is why it is better to understand psychology than gender studies, because understanding someone's psychology and not gender creates less separation from the two. You are understanding how someone else's mind works based on their individuality and less on their gender or ethnic background. If feminists keep doing gender studies courses, then you will have teachers constantly repeating the same things about patriarchy, the wage gap and other things that have already been debunked by actual data. The fact of the matter is that in some case feminism holds both men and women back. They sometimes end up with hatred for their own families as well, and eventually regret what they did. Family is important, so to cut out family who disagree with you about who you are is to let them gain less understanding of you. Parents and other relatives mostly want to stay in contact, and they will not always agree with your lifestyle. That is just how people are. Also, this can affect children as well, as some feminists or SJW are trying to have transgender children. A child should have the right to be innocent and be the gender they are at birth, or later in their lives they will end up with confusion. Never change a child's gender at birth. It is best to wait until they are much older, when they enter their adult years. You can't change a boy into a girl, they weren't born that way. They go through enough things in their childhood. I am just worried and concerned about how this affects children, especially males. It is merely the sexualization that concerns me. They weren't born for that or ready for it. Understanding child psychology is important too. Turning away from modern pop culture might be best for children. This is also why some adult males don't want a girlfriend or a child, and they go out, because they are very tired of seeing this type of feminism that is growing vastly, where some people don't follow logical steps. You should always take advice from a psychologist and a psychiatrist. The drugs we take don't always help, but you do need some kind of support with a counselor to talk through things. The current system we are under does need some changes. There are things that work and don't work. In the UK, there are a vast number of suicides, and the drugs we are taking don't help. There are actual herbal remedies that help you, which are designed for relaxation. Also, these types of courses are designed to create some division instead of unity. I'm sure Anonymous understands that there are many genders in ways people feel. It obviously won't change reality, but you can only ever transition to male or female. It is more based on the way someone thinks they are when there is some gender dysphoria. I have had the feeling that it doesn't help people who are going through a transition, because it is possible that teachers still regurgitate facts which are not always true. Data has shown that men and women do different kinds of jobs. In most cases, men are more driven to work and make more sacrifices to their time to make sure they gain careers. Men who want to be masculine are sometimes treated with hatred, and feminism is partly to blame for how they see men. Anonymous has said to you to not always look at people with hatred. If you're going to constantly do this, then men may show no emotions to you or may retaliate with other arguments. Calling a man scum because they wish to talk about male issues in a space that was designed to help them isn't going to help the future of humanity. Usually, in most cases, men don't express their feeling public because more men can handle the world as it is, and they see the problems with male suicide on the rise. We must learn to overcome this as well, not push negativity about a toxic culture of mansplaining. These days I can't believe that that is a word. It sounds like more of a joke, and so does the other word. It is better to call this gender psychology, or just let it be part of another psychology course. We have to understand that every human being on this earth is different and has different values. The biggest problem I've seen is that there is some kind of need to prove that children need to transition or should if they are male. This should never happen to a child. A child needs to be the gender they are and needs to actually live a life. Changing a child's gender shouldn't even be put in question or on the table. To me, this is a form of abuse that is worse. I agree that child deserve their own lives and innocence without being bombarded with popular media. And this is not whether you are an SJW or not. Your morals shouldn't tell you that you should do these things, especially with younger teens and child being able to gain more access to the internet. The doctor can only determine the gender of a child at birth, and when that child grows up to be an adult they should decide who they are for themselves, not the parents. When people of the future see what fashion and modern culture was doing to our children, they will see what YouTube became, a rather abusive place for brainwashing children. This shouldn't be accepted at all on YouTube or any other website. These are sick fucks who are already irrational. If YouTube allows this, then this website may be doomed. This is not comical either. This is disgusting and absolutely abhorrent to a child development. If you teach then common respect for human beings despite their gender, race, ethnic background, or sexuality, then what else would you need to push an agenda against a child who is developing themselves emotional and physically? Also, I'm looking at you, YouTube. At some point you decided, or the CEO of YouTube decided, that it was okay to have searches of a word that not even a child is allowed to see. If you think this is okay and an acceptable way, then YouTube, you have lost your mind. We don't come on YouTube for those kinds of things or anywhere else. This is only going to get worse, within hundreds of years more of history. The people of the future will see what we have done to erode our society. Teenagers should always be teenagers, and so should children. Allow them to live their childhoods with no force. At most we should wait for a child to decide in his or her adult years when they are comfortable to transition and change on their own. It is partly down to some of the drugs we've taken as well, but our minds develop much better without antidepressants. So it is easier to think more logically and emotionally without them. This is also why some men go pro, because they know that marriage is only benefiting women in most cases. When you are hit with some equality, it is at the moment women decide that this is unequal. The fact of the matter is, due to our past we have gotten lazier and have had more expectations of other people. There is no gender assignments at birth either. Gender is a term that explains who we are as humans. We might possibly be on our last sign of evolution as well. The only thing that is left is developing our minds and physical bodies to a point where we may transcend away from SJW or feminism. One day history will prove to us that feminines are more important than actual feminists. These women could actually have more respect for men as well as their own respect for themselves as human beings. They respect knowledge and culture as well as protecting the children from our current corrupted system. They are possibly the only ones that could also understand how men don't want to get married. I ask you gender studies students, why is it called gender studies and not just psychology or gender psychology? I feel in well-developed countries we have gotten slightly lazy. Money. We are the anonymous collective. We shall not forgive society for these transgressions, and we shall not forget. Men are not scum, nor are boys. This stupid fucking idiocy will not be accepted again. You have been warned. You can't expect children or any other adult to be open to your sexual preferences. Do not try to push Anonymous to do something that could destroy your careers. If you have this kind of attraction, seek help or get away from our society. This is disgusting. End of. This is also an insult to the taxpayer who puts you through college or university only to find that you people in the US and UK as well as Europe come up with the same things. I am also looking at you, Buzzfeed. You hate many races for only first world problems that can be resolved easily. You always talk about the division between different people which will not be accepted by the same everyday person. I don't see any of your words as words, I see them as stupid, unintelligent ideas that will have more future generations laughing at you one day. The fact is that you have to see people as human beings. When you constantly divide people into racial groups, you will be made fun of. Also, fat acceptance should never be a thing, ever in our society. We should strive to keep our bodies healthy, not fat. It is unhealthy to live at a size, and I apologize for what drew you to be that way. But this is also due to our laziness as human beings, not striving to be more than we actually are. You need to be able to help yourselves as well. You can't be gorging down on so much food and then expecting you'll be fine when you're older. You have to eat healthy, mixed diets. Vegan or vegetarian diets are fine. But we can't live off fast food all of our lives or unhealthy food. This teaches in our society that being lazy, overweight, and not doing anything with your lives while in a depressed state is your own problem. No one should have to accept that. Educate your mind and exercise your right to freedom and good health. Don't ignore facts or figures, because once you do, the death will be on you and no one else. Buzzfeed is also one of the biggest insults to the BDSM community. And I am not saying this as a white cis man, by the way. To the people trying to corrupt the children and other humans, expect a better future for children, men, and women, and for the people of the future generations to deny and not accept this anymore.